that the grandparents were also in on a deception. This was, first of all, there's no evidence whatsoever. But besides the Torah, right? You can't. There's another argument. You can't use the Torah to prove the Torah.
No, but it's written in a Torah that the people that received the Torah for the first time, they are the people who came out of Egypt. So you cannot plan something like this later in history, and no one has any evidence that their grandparents received such a book. All of a sudden, out of nowhere.
Okay.
It's like planting September 11 in history, in the mind of people, knowing it never happened. It's not realistic.
No, but what is possible is saying a story about the Iraq War, about our grandparents, saying, okay, you know what? Exaggerating a story, right? That's possible. That happens all the time.
That could be.
We exaggerate story. So let's say a group of Jews leave Mitzrayim. They're not a million. They're not. It's not 3 million. Not even 600,000. Maybe 1,000, 10,000 people. And it's a gradual influx. And I'm not the only one who holds this. Eli Barnavi writes a book called The Historical Atlas of the Jewish People, where he cites like 18 different historical sources. These are people that got. There are two theories about what really happened, and it's that there was two big waves of Jewish emigration, or gradual trickling of Jews into the Canaanite area, assimilating and cultural diffusion occurs. You have different ideas exchange, and a gradual development of this belief occurs. And after the fact, every generation succeeding embellishes the story a little bit more. How many stories from your grandparents? You know this also.
No, but it also cannot be what you claim. Because remember, in order for something like you to happen, that's supposed to be a slow evolution of something like this. A person getting another one and another one and another one, and they join the cult, and the story is developing, and they adding details to the story. That's not possible, because remember, in this event, the Jewish nation came out of Egypt, and right there, and they received the Torah in a public event. And plus, the Torah is full of prophecies. Almost all the prophecies in the Torah already happen in details. Now, those prophecies are against all odds. The chance that these prophecies will happen was 1 to 1 trillion. I'll give you one example, just for you to understand. The Torah says, Kish'alna liyamim rishonim. Go and check in history. And remember, the Torah is relevant to every Jew in every generation until the end of days. Same relevance today when it was 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. And the Torah said to every Jew, even right now, open the Torah and read and check the history. Did you have a group of non-Jews ever that claim that I spoke to them and had a revelation with them and gave them a book? A group, not individuals. Ashama Am, it's a large group. השמע עם כל אלוהים מדבר אליו מתוך האש כאשר שמעת אתה ויחי. Did you ever have a group of people that came anywhere in the world and claimed that I came to them and gave them a book like I gave to you, and they survived to tell the story? Go check in history. You will never find ever a group of non-Jews that come and make such a claim. How about individual?
Jesus and Muhammad
no, that's an individual.
Private also.
One individual, 80,000 times, one individual came and started some fake religion or a fake cult.
No witnesses.
One individual with no witnesses.
Okay, so
but there is never
13 apostles, whatever.
No. You know, Christianity started with the dream of a woman, Miriam. She became pregnant, not from her husband. They asked her what's going on. She said, God came to me in a dream, and that's how Christianity started. Story of one woman who had incentive to lie to save her life from death. Because in those days, a woman that cheated on her husband would get the death penalty, not a TV show like today. Today they get a TV show. They become very, very cool because it's in style to do it. But back then, Jews and non-Jews, when they cheated in such a case, it was a death penalty. So the idea is a woman that has all the reasons in the world to lie to save her life. She made up a story, and now 2 billion people follow Christianity thanks to that story. Same thing, Muhammad came from the desert and claimed the angel gave him the Quran. He was alone, according to the Torah, and there was no witnesses. Same thing, Buddha, 2,400 years ago. He saw the light, he had an enlightenment. How many people were with you? No one. You get the concept?
That quote, I think, was talking about Hashem revealing himself and living. I think the emphasis was on, has anyone else seen me and lived? Because there's a lot of other follow-up quotes in the Chumash talking about Hashem revealing himself to Moshe.
No,
and
read the text over there. השמע העם קול אלוהים מדבר אליו מתוך האש כאשר שמעת אתה ויחי או הניסה אלוהים לבוא לקחת לו גוי מקרב גוי באותות במופתים ובמסות כאשר עשה השם אלוקיך לעיניך אתה הורית לדעת כי השם הוא האלוקים השמיים עם העל הארץ ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. Translation. It's written, do you have, check in history, will you ever find a group of people that claim that I gave them any book or had revelation of them or made any miracles for them as I did to you in front of your own eyes? Your eyes saw what I've done for you. This is a direct referral from God to the Jewish people. Now remember, all we needed in the last 3,300 years, 10, 20, 30, 50 Gentiles who made a conspiracy theory, all come together. They said we were in a desert. God came to us and gave us this book, and he nominated John to be the leader. This will already make the Torah have one mistake in it. Now, do you know one human being that will take such a foolish risk? If I know I'm not a prophet, and I'm pretending to be, and I made up a fake book, and I want to control the life of millions of people, why will I take a risk putting over 100 prophecies in the Torah, which the chance that it will happen is 1 to 1 trillion? Why would I jeopardize my status? For instance, in the Quran, you don't have one prophecy. The Muslims scream, Prophet Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad. I'll give you a prize if you find one
prophecy in the Quran.
They do have some prophecies.
What about the Gog and Magog, the two giants?
No, they have prophecies about the sands.
Whatever they have there, they copy from our prophets. That's not a prophecy. You see, if I write a letter and you copy from the letter is mine, not yours. The fact that you copy 2 years later. Yes.
Yeah. Did the Arabs that were pagans in Saudi Arabia back in the day, did they have access to the Torah?
The Torah was translated in the same generation that it was received to 70 different languages already. Why? All the people in the world were fascinated by the fact that the Jews received the Torah, and they right away wanted to translate it to their language. Now, I give you an example how a conspiracy theory affects the mind of millions of people, and they don't use the head to think. You know, the Muslims came up with a lie that the Jews modified the Torah, that really Abraham did not take Isaac to the Moriah mountain to slaughter him. It was actually Ishmael. The Jews modified the Torah. So I argued once with an Arab professor from Saudi Arabia. I said to him, so you're 100% sure that there was Ishmael, not this? So can you please explain to me how millions of Jews were scattered all over the world? One day wake up in the morning, there are hundreds of thousands of Torahs in the world. One day, out of nowhere, all the Jews, without telephone, without emails, without internet, all of them wake up and decided to take the Torah and modify the Torah in the same place, in the same line, with the same names, and all of them decided to switch Isaac with Ishmael. How exactly it happened? Did you ever find a Torah anywhere in the world that says that in that text that it was Ishmael? If you would find one copy somewhere in one country, at least it would create a debate. But all the Torahs in the world has the same exact names and the same exact words. How all of a sudden you came up with such an idea? The answer, it's baloney. It's nonsense. It's just politics.
Yeah, we don't disagree with the Islam. I disagree with Islam as well. I think we should, stay to the topic of the Torah. You're claiming, so once again, I don't see this as a bam kasha, as they would say. It's not a real good claim because I think it's subjective. You can interpret, you can say you can interpret the sentence to mean a lot of things. There are a lot of Quranic hadiths, I think, or surahs that predict things like fingerprint scanning, how the flesh will soon testify against you, and a whole slew of things that the Quran and the Muslims, not that I agree with their religion, but they also say things like, we predicted all these amazing things. There was also a revelation that Muhammad split the moon amongst thousands of non-believers, thousands that it was said, and they all collectively agreed. This concept of it's impossible to pass a lie because it was written after the fact, that so many people saw it, is not a legitimate basis to say it couldn't have been invented. Because once again, I'm agreeing with you, no one lied intentionally. So it's just an incorrect inference. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that this was a deception and someone was so smart and took a big risk. He didn't take a risk. There was a lot of things that they just collectively believed. They wrote posts after the fact, and there are no. I mean, what? Once again, what better claims?
For what reason?
Because they genuinely believe. We genuinely didn't know much about the world.
If you go over the 613 commandments, do you know how many of them are against human logic? Completely against human logic.
There's a bunch. But these people back
more than 80%. Now let me ask you this: if someone makes a fake book, he writes 613 commandments, all of you must follow it. If he writes you should not kill, it makes sense. It's good for society. You should not steal, makes sense. You should not cheat, makes sense. Give charity to the poor, makes sense. Respect your father and mother, makes sense, right? A lot of these things, you and I, if we would write a fake book, we would want those laws to be a part of humanity.
Hopefully.
But what in the world would I benefit from to make hundreds of laws about sacrifices, killing animals, millions of them every year, slaughtering them, burning them on the altar, taking the blood, putting it here in the ear of the Kohen, putting it in his toe, splashing it in a certain way on the corner of the altar or on the parochet, and certain parts giving to this person and certain parts to this person, and certain parts must be burned, and you cannot go over the sunrise because by then there's hundreds of very, very strange laws which no human being whatsoever will make, because in the wildest dream no one will make such strange laws. All the laws of sacrifices, the laws of mitzvah shiluach haken. Why would a person make a law that 1 week you're not allowed to eat bread, 5 kinds of grains? What benefit will I get from it? I say, if I tell you give me 10% from your income, oh, you can say, okay, I benefit from it. If I tell you should not kill, I benefit for it because you're not going to kill me. If I tell you should not steal, it's good for our environment. But if I say to you, you lit a fire on Shabbat, because of that you have to travel 2 weeks from Tiberias all the way to Jerusalem, carry a big ship, climb the mountain, sweat like crazy from the heat, bring this to the Kohen has to slaughter it, and you have to repent for turning the fire on, and then 2 weeks to go back all the way to the north of Israel. It will cost you your business, your family will fall apart, and people will hate you. When someone make a fake book, does he want the people to accept it willingly, or he want everyone to become his enemy? Why would I give you laws that will make you lose tons of money, tons of times, will make you hate me, and will make you think that I'm crazy, when I benefit nothing from it? What would I benefit from it? You see, if I had 20, 30 logical laws, everyone will accept the Torah and kiss my hand and tell me you're the greatest leader. You're a very logical leader. But when I give you 500 laws that are against human logic, everybody lose and I gain nothing. Plus, I write about myself that I'm stuttering, I'm not such a great, talented speaker. Why would someone do such thing?
To my point, you're telling me with so many stringent, many little laws, there's not 1 ounce of corruption that could have gotten intertwined into all of that?
You are speaking about something else.
Right, no. So
human nature, unfortunately, has a part of it has corruption.
Okay.
People deceive, people lie, it's against the Torah. For instance, if you see a religious man steal, doesn't mean the Torah allowed to steal. If you see ever a religious man kill, doesn't mean the Torah allowed it. You cannot judge Judaism by the behavior of the Jews, of the religious Jews. We are not representative of God. We do good things and we do bad things. When you see us do bad things, it doesn't mean God allow it to do. You understand? You cannot judge Judaism by the behavior of the people.
Same thing goes, just because you don't know a law doesn't mean it doesn't apply to you.
Exactly. Not knowing the law does not dismiss you from the punishment, right? We kind of
got a little sidetracked here. I mean, so from what I gathered, your claim is that because the Torah is so outrageous in some areas, which happens to be a product of contemporary belief, people in Babylon, in ancient Egypt, and Assyria, they believed in sacrificing animals and all these things, but because it has such crazy beliefs, that means it's from God? Is that the argument? Is that what you're saying?
It's not only the sacrifices.
Because I don't...
It's not only the sacrifices. Give me one...
Everything.
Give me one reason why a person will care if you eat spaghetti in the week between the 15th of Nisan to the 22nd. Why will I gain from it if you eat bread at home or not?
He wouldn't care.
Why
but
would
the-
I
but
make
the
such a law?
He wouldn't care, but the religion wasn't
What for?
gained. The religion wasn't created to make the gain of one person. That's my point. I'm asking you.
Again,
what
fake
makes it?
religions have, the faker who made it up has reasons. Reasons have to be logical in human logic. I have no incentive whatsoever to make difficult laws, strange laws, who make everybody suffer and make me gain nothing. It never happened in history that someone will do such thing unless he's totally crazy. If it's a mental case, okay. But someone's charismatic who comes to the people and tell them he's the prophet, all of you heard me speaking to God, give them the religion, and 80% of the laws that are against their logic. And some of them has that penalty. For instance, I give you an example of what you say before. You say that the rabbis changed it over the years. Like, I think you say that. But yeah, I have news for you. Every rabbinical restriction that the rabbis wrote in the Talmud or even later on, every one of them they had the full authority to do because it's a clear verse in the Torah. The Torah says that if you have a problem in a generation, if you have a question, you come to the Kohen and to the Dayan. Dayan means a judge of your generation, of your place, and ask them what to do. Everything they will instruct you based on this Torah, you must listen to them. Do not move left or right from what they are going to tell you. And right after that it says, and those who will not obey this instruction will be put to death. Uviar TORAH Israel. Meaning people who would not listen to the sages. I put the Torah as a raw material in the hand of the sages of every generation. We had prophets, then we had the Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, then we had the Tanaim, then we had the Amoraim, then the Talmud was concluded in Babylon and in Jerusalem. And from then on, no one is allowed to modify anything. Once the Talmud was sealed, that's it. Now everything else you see, it's the laws that came from the Talmud. If it's not in a Talmud, it's not considered a valid rule. We are not making up new rules for the last 2,000 years. No. Once the Talmud was sealed, that's it. Shulchan Aruch is just abbreviation of everything the Talmud discussed. Halacha, Nemaaseh.
But we agree that things were changed until that point, and amended and compiled, and that's exactly...
It's no problem whatsoever, because the Torah already says, "V'haya ki yeh machloket acharei rabim la'atot." Hashem said, there will be different opinions about what to do about this specific law. Why? Because, like you say, people have opinions and different understanding. So if Rabbi X say it's allowed, and Rabbi Y say it's not allowed, and then Rabbi Z come and say it's allowed, we have to follow the majority. But the majority, I'll give you an example. A lot of people, like you say, translate the Torah literally. You don't translate the Torah literally. Right. If you translate the Torah literally, you will mess up the whole Torah. That's what happened to the Reform people. The Karaites, they put talit on the wall. Why? Because it says you should see it. You understand? We're not translating the Torah literally. What we are doing is, remember, we got 613 commandments, and each one of the commandments, it does not say a word in the written Torah how to keep them. It doesn't say how to keep Shabbat. It doesn't say how many restrictions you have in Shabbat. It only says that if you break Shabbat, you're going to get the death penalty, and your soul will be cut from the afterlife for eternity. That's all it says. Mot yumad v'nichreta nefesh ha'im me'amea. Nothing else. The only thing about Shabbat that it says, you should not create fire. But we know there are 39 restrictions. Where did we get them? From the Talmud. Where the Talmud got them from? From the description how to build the Mishkan. That Hashem said to Moshe how to build a temporary Mishkan. And in the end, he said to Moshe, on Shabbat, no one is allowed to prepare anything for the Mishkan. From here we learn that all the 39 things that we do to make the temporary temple, the portable temple, are forbidden on Shabbat. Now, besides the 39 Avot Melacha, there are many, many mini categories which the Talmud discuss, and there are arguments, like he said. But in the end, whatever halacha was ruled, that's how we are going to be judged. Meaning Hashem wanted us to learn all our life Torah, to dig and investigate in the oral laws, and to come up with our own verdicts. It's written clearly in the text. Once the Chachamim made up in the Talmud, halacha lemaaseh, that's the halacha like Rabbi Akiva, halacha like Rabbi Yehuda, halacha, the Talmud say...
When was the Talmud established again? What time frame?
It was concluded 1600 years ago, but it was a period of 400 years. It took 400 years from the time of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi until Rav Ashi and Ravina concluded the Talmud. It was 400 years. By the way, you know, Rav Ashi and Ravina, they didn't have internet, they didn't have search engines, they didn't have that. They were sitting in their short lifetime and concluded thousands of topics in Judaism and knew all the opinions of all the rabbis in every topic, everyone what argument he would make. And they created debate in the Talmud with no contradictions against themselves. Meaning when they speak in Masechet Shabbat, they speak in a different Masechet. They always remember all the opinion. This is unhuman. Wow. Even if you give me a mega computer and 50,000 employees to write such a thing today, I wouldn't be able to do it. That's not human. That's way above the ability of humanity. Do you know you know how many thousands of topics, very complicated topics you have in the Talmud? And they knew the opinion of each Chacham, each Tana, each Amora. It's unbelievable.
Well, who's to say we didn't have any assistance?
There's no electronic, no electric, no search engine. It was all in their head.
So they were very smart. They were very smart, but were they divine? This is really the point, and we're getting very sidetracked. For the sake of time, I know you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
I want to stick to the point of, right, we're talking Gemara, we're talking Torah. You agree then that it doesn't have to be interpreted literally. There were a lot of developments and changes. That was my point.
But the Torah said
whatever
halacha was made by the sages of the generation, that's obligates everyone from then on.
And
no one is allowed to contradict
sages are pure, though. Who's to say those sages didn't have any kind of...
Once you read about their life and how they were, you won't ask this question. I want to tell you one thing. I want to just tell you one thing. If you take all the rabbis in the world today combined and put them on a scale and put Rabbi Akiva on the other side, is greater than all of them combined. This is the kind of people we are talking here about. Do you understand?
I don't know that.
What's to say?
You don't know it. I'm not blaming you for not knowing.
The same rabbi that can tell me you must, treat and respect every person accordingly can go home to his wife and treat her like garbage.
But I want to tell you something. You know what's the difference between me and you? When I do not know something, I don't jump to any conclusion. Meaning I understand I don't know. I go to someone that knows. Please explain to me how does it make sense. And and usually I get the answers. What I'm telling you right now is we had people in the history of the Jewish people, tens of thousands of unbelievable rabbis, the Gaon Mivilna, the Ben Ish Chai, the Ari HaKadosh, the Rambam. If you read about who these people were, all of them knew the Torah from right to left, left to right, in the middle of the night. Smart. Every verse, they know every prophet, every pasuk, every word, every mishnah, everything was in front of their eyes, and they kept all the Torah and the mitzvot. So people that are a million times smarter than all of us combined, million times smarter, which know everything, did not dare to commit one sin a year even. Now, are you, both of you, claiming that all these tens of thousands of unbelievable scholars were all dumb, and we, the new pioneers of the 21st century, we know that the Torah is questionable and it's, come on. You gotta learn from other people's knowledge and experience. When I go to my accountant, I don't question his knowledge in accounting because it's 50 years in accountant. When I go to the brain surgeon, I won't ask questions about brain because I know he knows what he's doing. I don't.
So,
you get the point?
For the Rabbi, just and if you could